Many travelers choose South American countries as tourist destinations because of the impressive nature one of them has. In addition to housing a lot of history and exotic places, today we will be telling you about a country that has two official languages, Guarani and Spanish. It is also the third country with the largest export of soybeans, and it is known that its economy is based on agriculture, energy generation, industry, and commerce. Do you want to know more about it? Join us to discover Paraguay. Its official name is Republic of Paraguay, and its capital is Asunción. Guarani is an indigenous language spoken by more than 80% of the population, and is one of the few countries that still retains its native language as one of the main ones. Its history is marked by wars and dictatorships. It was the first country in Latin America to become independent from Spain in 1811. Then, it suffered the War of the Triple Alliance against Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay, which costed a large part of its territory and population. He also lived through the Chaco War against Bolivia, which gave him control of a vast desert area until he finally became involved in the dictatorship of Alfredo Stroessner, which was overthrown by a military coup. For a time, Paraguay was not the preferred tourist destination for many, and for decades, the country registered the lowest number of tourist arrivals in the entire region. Furthermore, its geographical isolation was one of the most pronounced on the entire continent, and investment in the sector was absolutely deficient. The poor air connectivity, the difficulty in land access, the tiny number of border bridges, the fact of not having an icon of tourist attraction such as Machu Picchu, the falls or glaciers, added to the lack of tourism promotion policies in abroad. The absence of adequate infrastructure and the lack of public policies were just some of the reasons that explained its low growth and practically non-existent impact. To say that Paraguay almost did not exist in international tourist guides is not an exaggeration. But in recent years, greater attention has been paid to it, and investment in the sector has been increasing. Today, its colonial and cultural history, reflected in its Jesuit mission ruins, its historic buildings, its Guarani language, and its mixture of European and indigenous influences are great attractions. They have also devised a shopping tourism strategy. This takes advantage of the devaluation of neighboring currencies and offers varied and affordable products in their border cities, especially Ciudad del Este. So let's start exploring all those wonders that you can visit in this country. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications so you don't miss any tourist destination. Here are the people who are kind, hospitable, and proud of their country, and who will make you feel at home and will be very proud to show you their lands and what nature has given them. For example, there is a tree tunnel that at first glance is a spectacle. This extends along a section of Route 2 that is covered by lush vegetation, creating a natural tunnel effect. In fact, the vegetation of this country can be seen from the border it shares with Brazil, a path delimited by river, flora, and fauna that over the years has been changed by deforestation. But continuing with its natural places, we have the Monday Falls, impressive waterfalls 40 meters high and 120 meters wide, located in the department of Alto Paraná. In addition to this, we find the Itaipu Dam, one of the largest hydroelectric plants in the world, which is located on the border with Brazil. This dam is truly impressive since its construction alone required 12.3 million cubic meters of concrete that, by comparison, could be built 210 stadiums like the Maracanã in Brazil. And not only that, but the steel invested in this project would facilitate the construction of 380 Eiffel Towers. Impressive, don't you think? As of 2015, it is the largest hydroelectric plant in America and the second largest in the world after the Three Gorges Dam in China. The American Society of Civil Engineers recognized this amazing work and named it one of the 7 wonders of the modern world in 1995. Now, if your interests include visiting a park where you can enjoy nature and spend a quiet day, we recommend the Ibicuí National Park, which is a natural reserve that houses a wide variety of flora and fauna, as well as old foundries of iron and waterfalls. In this park, you can observe a fauna with a record of 42 species of mammals, 129 birds, 18 reptiles, 26 amphibians, and 68 insects. You will also see some endangered species. Another park that you can enjoy is the Nhacanday National Park, a park that has a 40-meter-high waterfall, ecological trails, viewpoints, and a stone museum. On the other hand, you can enjoy Salto Crystal, a beautiful waterfall of crystalline water 45 meters high, surrounded by forests and streams in the department of Paraguay. Now, if we talk about history, we can name the Carlota Palmarola Castle, an imposing medieval-style building built at the end of the 19th 17th century by a German in love with a Paraguayan woman. The history of this castle is inspired by medieval castles. It is one of the most impressive buildings in Paraguay. It belonged to Carlota Palmerola de Ayala, who at the beginning of 1900 completed the total restoration and donated part of the property to a convent of Dominican sisters. Today, if you visit this castle, you can find a museum with furniture from the period, as well as old photographs of the Palmerola family and the sisters when they first arrived. It was declared cultural heritage of the nation, but you must keep in mind that although the castle is open to the public, its visits must be organized in accordance with the sisters, who are in charge of managing and maintaining the place. Likewise, we find the Museo de Barro, which is a museum that exhibits a collection of popular, indigenous, and contemporary art from Paraguay and Latin America. Currently, the Heritage of the Mud Museum consists of more than 4,000 pieces, corresponding to mestizo productions from the 17th century onwards, something that we invite you to dedicate time to admire each work. These works include wood carvings, textiles, lace, ceramics, and goldsmithing. The museum also includes a collection of 300 pieces of pre-Columbian ceramics from all over the American continent. Have you ever heard of Pombero Island? Let us know your answer in the comments. But if you haven't heard of it, it is located in Paraguay, and we already told you about it. Let's say it is the main attraction of a city called Chorrito, and it is located right in the middle of the Paraná River. And what makes the view attractive is its white sand with fresh, crystal clear waters. It has everything you need to disconnect. You can locate it about 350 kilometers from Asunción, and of course, from the port of the city of boatmen, who as professionals should not worry since they take all the precautions. And speaking of Asunción, this is the capital of this South American country. This is a modern city, cheap for travelers, and offering many accommodation options. In addition to this, it has a wide cultural offer, especially with its variety of museums such as the National Museum of Fine Arts and the Cabildo Museum. In Asunción, you can visit several places where you will learn about the history of this country, such as the López Palace, in front of the Bay of Asunción, the Pantheon of Heroes, the Rivera Block, and the Independence House, which is a building of national historical value. And if you are looking for a place with a little more religious history, you can visit the cathedral, the most important in the city, and walk through the bohemian neighborhood of San Geronimo. Something that you undoubtedly cannot miss is the Pantanal del Chaco, and it is characterized by housing a variety of wild animals and lush vegetation in the central Chaco. Now let's talk about its gastronomy. And you could say that it is a set of dishes and culinary techniques that are mainly based on corn, cassava, meat, cheese, and herbs. Some of the most typical dishes are Paraguayan soup, chipa, vori-vori, locro, pita broth, and embiju. Paraguayan gastronomy also has influences from Spanish, Italian, and German cuisine. Let's see what this gastronomy is about, starting with one of its most famous dishes, Guarani soup or Paraguayan soup. This dry soup, which has a similarity to a savory pie and not a soup, and is made with corn flour, eggs, fresh cheese, chopped onion, and curdled milk. Let's continue with cassava, which in any of its forms is a food that is never missing from a Paraguayan table, although it is most often found boiled and eaten instead of bread. To make it better understood, cassava is a tuber from a perennial shrub, which is boiled in water and a little salt so that it remains like a potato when we puree it. Let's continue with something very typical, the chipa. This looks like a small bread, except that it is made with cassava starch, hard cheese, milk, eggs, butter, and salt. In some cases, they also add a little yeast, orange juice, or sunflower oil. And if we are going to talk about typical dishes, we cannot fail to mention the vori-vori, which I prepare with chicken, but it can also be made with beef. It is like a fairly thick broth with small balls of corn flour and cheese that are kneaded by hand. As you will see, in Paraguay it will be difficult for you to remember the diet because its gastronomy is designed based on proteins and tubers that beyond leaving you with a feeling of fullness, its flavor will make you want to continue exploring it. Very well, reaching the end of the video, we want to give you some advice about when to visit this country. And the best time to visit Paraguay is during the months of May to September, when the climate is milder and drier. During these months, the temperatures are pleasant and the rains are less frequent, which makes it easier to enjoy outdoor activities. Then, as you may have seen at the beginning of the video, there are plenty of outdoor places. Paraguay has a subtropical climate with rapid changes in temperature throughout the year. Summer, which runs from December to March, can be very hot and humid with the risk of flooding. Paraguay is a country with many tourist attractions, both natural and cultural, that you can visit at any time of the year. However, if you want to make the most of your trip, we recommend that you do it in the low season, when there are fewer tourists and prices are cheaper. We also want to remind you that Paraguay is a country in South America that offers great cultural cultural and natural diversity, but also has some risks and challenges in terms of security. According to the Global Peace Index, Paraguay is among the safest countries in the region, only surpassed by Uruguay, Chile, Argentina, and Peru. However, it must also be taken into account that Paraguay suffers from crime, corruption, poverty, natural disasters, and diseases that can affect travelers. And due to its biodiversity, we recommend getting vaccinated against yellow fever and other diseases, and carrying insect repellent to prevent dengue, Zika, and malaria. This is an interesting and attractive destination, but it requires precautions and common sense to avoid problems and enjoy a safe and pleasant stay. We also want to recommend you watch our video about Uzbekistan, a land of unmatched beauty. Remember to like and share so that we continue to grow and discover new tourist destinations. See you in the next video.